Dismissal came just before dawn, with lights fading along the edges of the floor. There was no drama in it, just a quiet resignation making its way through the thin fog seeping under the high, cracked windows of the Fábricas do Poço do Bispo. It was April, chilled but perfumed faintly with eucalyptus and the river. Even in the pale dark, nothing about my life glimmered. We punched out under the supervisor's tired gaze, me, Paulo, and the rest, hands black-stained and cracked from a night pressing plastics or assembling some foreign company's gadgetry. My mind buzzed not with fatigue but anticipation. Today would be the last shift. My head was clear for once, as if all those nights breathing machine oil built up to this quiet exit. Back on the street, I felt like I'd left some heavy part of myself inside the grey walls. I watched Paulo hitch his backpack, muttering about the price of eggs, and I wanted to tell him. I wanted to shout it. I'm leaving not just the factory but the whole tired way of moving through life that Lisbon liked to trap us in. Instead, I walked home. Mararia was waking, shuttered windows creaking open against the soft blue. My mother's flat glowed like a ship's cabin. She was waiting as always, tea poured. "You're home early," she said, suspicion tensed even over her faded robe. "They're cutting shifts again," I lied, pausing on the threshold with the familiar ache starting behind my chest. She read me too well. She sensed the tight coil of nerves in my words. "Don't tell me you're chasing that foolish idea again." I sat at our small square table, still warm from her hands, kneading dough for the day's bread. The Arduino board I'd cobbled together from scraps stared back at me from under a heap of receipts and junk mail. Some projects collect dust, mine fed me hope. Me. "I'm doing it," my voice was steady, the clearest I'd felt in months. "I have a plan." She dropped into her seat like I'd delivered bad news. "Rui, no one is going to pay for a software from here," she said, voice tight with disbelief that had passed through anger into grief. "What do you know about business?" She drew circles on the table with her teacup, avoiding my eyes. I sipped in silence, the cheap tea tart on my tongue. She believed I was squandering a hard-won place in the pecking order. The safety of wages, however meager, I hurt for her disbelief. She only wanted proof, something Lisbon never gave our kind. She, who scrubbed stairs along the Alfama as a girl just to eat, who believed work's only reward was survival. I spent the day hunched in the back room, surrounded by code, wires, and sketches, the hum of my old laptop syncing with the puttering of the electric heater. My hands shook, not from fatigue but exhilaration. I was building something I could almost taste. When the neighbors gathered for dinner, the living room filled with the smell of chouriço and the slurry of gossip. Tio Carlos barked laughter, always aimed at the one daring something new. I set my pitch in the middle of their jokes. "I'm starting a company," I declared during a lull when someone needed to fill their glass. "A software for businesses to manage their inventory. All online, robust, faster than anything local." Someone snorted. Carolina, who worked admin at the pharmacy, rolled her eyes. My uncle, chewing bread, gave a snicker. "You, software from this house." I withstood every tired laugh. Their ridicule floated like smoke, thin and choking. "Have you even registered the company?" Carolina asked. "I will," I said. Paulo, squeezing my shoulder later by the entryway, whispered, "Just keep your head down, man. Times are tough, startups fail." "Lisboa is changing, Paulo. I want to be a part of it," I said quietly. He shook his head, pitying. I felt little grief for his doubt, grief only pooled for myself. Over the months, skepticism took new shapes. I became a walking punchline. They'd see me with my laptop in cafes off Avenida de Liberdade, hunched and wild-eyed, and mutter, "There's O Engenheiro conquering Silicon Valley." My mother begged me to return to the factory. She clutched electricity bills with trembling hands, yet with grief come moments of clarity. One night I sat looking over the city, twinkling with empty possibilities. I realized Lisbon didn't care if I failed. The Tagus would still roll out past Alfama, the trams would still judder up and down the hills. The real test was facing the blank screen every morning, the ceaseless error messages, the emails that evaporated into nothing. I lived in a state of perpetual hunger, sometimes physical, sometimes for a proof point to show everyone, to show myself that leaving safety was not just stupidity. My co-founder, Andrea, an old friend from the tech meetups at the Universidade, shared my warped sleep schedule and relentless drive. For months, we rotated between desks at the incubator in Bairro Alto and my mother's overheated kitchen. She brought nights of rapid ideation and days where nothing compiled right. Pitching took its toll on our confidence, our food budget, our hope. We heard nothing but no from every angel investor we could charm to buy us coffee. The worst was skepticism dressed as advice. Europe doesn't need another SaaS builder delivery app. Go for something simple, you're thinking too big. But in Andrea's eyes, I saw shared defiance. Night after endless night, we watched downloads tip from 0 to 2, then a shaky 100 users when an industrial warehouse in Porto took a chance on our free trial. It was validation, even if profit seemed forever out of reach. Each small sale felt like another brick mortared into a wall only we knew we were building. 3 years, that's what it took to get real traction. Now the family watched me with an odd vigilance, as if waiting for the explosion they had predicted. Debt choked me, success felt like breathing just under the river's surface. Then we landed the Spanish distributor. They found us through word of mouth or rumor, which is sometimes the best marketing. One evening, a tidy sum appeared in our account after their wire transfer. Andrea and I stared at the numbers, numb with exhaustion, not joy. We did it, she whispered, voice hoarse from too many late-night calls. Now we have to keep doing it. With profit came reinvestment, more servers, a new workspace outside my mother's kitchen, the paycheck I'd dreamt of for myself and my team. I paid back Paulo the €50 he'd slipped into my coat when I missed rent. He gripped my hand with shock, but going back home, that was the thing I dreaded, not the fancy client meetings in Porto or Madrid, not the sleepless product launches. It was walking into that living room on the Rua dos Gavias with my head held up, confronting their memories of every joke, every sidelong glance. I planned my return quietly. By then, our solution ran warehouses from Lisbon to Braga. We'd hired a dozen, including a distant cousin. My mother now carried a smartphone, her cautious hands learning to text, but she still pressed me, when will you find stable work? When will you buy a house, settle down? I waited for the right moment. Spring called me home, the city pulsing with festivals and sardines roasting somewhere beyond the Alfama archways. I arrived unannounced. My mother met me in the doorway, still surprised my beard was flecked with grey already. Inside, the flat was crowded with family. The mood changed quickly. Paulo, Carolina, Tio Carlos, all there, along with new acquaintances. Carolina eyed my clothes a little nicer now, as if searching for other signs of change. Conversation circled the usual, football, rising rent, politics. I waited. When I cleared my throat, the room went still. I brought out my laptop, an old habit, ugly and familiar. I connected to our software dashboard, the living room gone oddly quiet but for the fridge humming. Some of you wondered if this would ever work. Tio Carlos smirked, now you're rich. We'll see. I opened the stats window. Live orders danced across the screen, streaming from 11 countries. Shipments moved through Porto, Malaga, even as far as Paris and Milan. I clicked through real-time inventory logs, support tickets, something undeniable, not lines of code, evidence. The work that had been nothing but laughter and whispers before was now blinking, pulsing, a network humming across Europe. Carolina stepped closer, reluctant. That's yours. Our teams, I said, but yes, this is where I vanished to all those nights. No one spoke. My uncle, mouth open, stared at the screen like it held some new law of physics. For a moment, I saw not skepticism but the same fear I used to feel, the terror that risk is only for others, that safety is a kind of reverence rather than resignation. My mother touched the screen, her crooked fingers trembling against the glass. People use this from you. I nodded, grief flared again but softer now, a mourning for all the years I let their disbelief lodge inside me. I showed her our partnership with a recycling cooperative in Setúbal made possible by our tools. Her eyes shone with tears she wouldn't admit. It's not magic, I said quietly, unable to stop myself. It's work. But I told you it was possible. Paulo clapped me hard on the back and the burst of pride in his eyes stunned me. He did it. Goddamn, he said, half laughing, half cracking up. Even the neighbors crowded the flat entrance, curious now, word moving fast. As the light shifted, the hush broke. People peppered me with questions. My uncle demanded to know if I needed someone for sales. Carolina tried the dashboard herself, smiling uncertainly, lost in the thrill of catching up to a future that had sped up around her. The feeling of rejection never left entirely. I heard it still, tinged with awe rather than derision. But standing there showing what I had built, I felt redemption was not about erasing doubt but making peace with its scars. Later, after the crowd thinned, I sat with my mother. She poured me tea the way she had my whole life, only now her hands were steady, sure. I only wanted you safe, she said quietly. I know, I said, but sometimes safety is not enough. She nodded, her eyes on mine, seeing not a child but a man who returned with something real. Outside, Lisbon rolled on, tram bells ringing, the river shining with morning. I walked out onto the balcony, breathing in the city's shifting promise. I'd left with grief, returned with clarity. Success, I realized, felt less like victory than arrival, and home, once closed to my dreams, was now a place where proof pulsed softly, more real than the scars it healed.